Right. Hello, guys. Good evening. It's High Priestess Jamila So I wanted to let you guys know that I am available for readings. I may have time this evening, but it depends on how quickly you get in because I'm actually booked after 8:30 or 9, okay? But otherwise I will be available in the morning, okay? So you want to go ahead and you can schedule in advance. I am running a flash sale. And so you can see the price scrolling right there. All of my information is in the video description box. What I wanted to do was come and real quickly do a little get to know me as far as like my spiritual background. Like, how did I come to know that I was an empath? And just a little bit about that. So, um, my earliest memory of being able to communicate with the dead, okay, was when I was 2 or 3 years old. And this is something that, I had to eventually come to accept that it was very real. Um, I experienced loss of someone close to me at a very young age, and it was actually my cousin. And from what I heard, me and him were very close. He took care of me, and he actually passed away of leukemia. Hello, Stevan. How are you? And hello to Jay. Hi. Um, so apparently, it was so painful losing him that I must have blocked it out because for years I didn't even like it. It was something that was extremely traumatic. And but my aunt kept telling me about the story, just the stories that she would, the things that she would experience, the supernatural things that she would experience with me after, because he was my aunt's son. And so basically, I was actually there and present at the hospital when he passed away because, from what my aunt told me, I refused to leave his side. Will freak out, probably. That's just something that I'm kind of adding to the story because it's kind of not necessarily a normal thing for a toddler to be in like a hospice area with someone that's passing away. So that's not what she told me, but I feel like that's probably something that might be in my memory that I probably knew something was going on and I didn't want to leave his side. Um, so he did pass on, and my aunt said that she would catch me communicating with him, okay, after he passed away. And it's something that I totally forgot. I was a toddler. But my aunt, she would often tell me about it. Like, I'm talking about every time I would see her, every time she would tell me stories about that. Okay. Every single time. So that's when my gifts as a medium kicked in. And she actually stated that because I used to have one of those toy phones, and she said that I would communicate with him from that toy phone sometimes. And she said sometimes she would just hear me talking to him. Okay. And she would feel his presence and know that he was actually there. Okay. So That's when the discovery that I am a medium, and my aunt, she was never afraid of it because for some reason she made sure that she told me about it every time she saw me. And she served as somewhat as a spirit guide prior to me taking my path, actually. Um, because growing up, she would like often, give me suggestions on career. And I wanted to be a nurse, and she was like, no, mm-mm. Just everything was mm-mm. So I feel like she was kind of pushing me towards this path that whole time. Okay. So anyway, when I discovered that I was an empath, this was probably when I didn't discover truly that I was in uh it was kind of like it started probably when I was like very young, but when I was young, I would smoke a lot of marijuana because I did not really want, I just kind of wanted a normal life, and I kind of wanted to block it out. Okay, so that was my purpose of it. It just, I wasn't thinking about it when I was younger. So I kind of was, just being a young person, you know what I'm saying, when I was younger. But there was certain things like when I was really young, I would always sense when somebody was pregnant. Like I would just guess. Like it was like I could pick up on the baby in the womb. Like I would just know it. Um, when I was probably like maybe 10 or 11, one of my cousins was shot to death. And this is a dream that I will never forget. It was actually a nightmare because I actually dreamt about him being shot. But the way that I experienced it was very I can't think of the word that I'm looking for, but it was very kind of spooky and ghostly. Like I just saw an apparition of him, and he was literally shot. Pretty much, he was just shot, and I knew he was shot in the dream. And so, the way he manifested himself in the dream was kind of like in the dream, because my cousin did get shot. And I'm sorry if this is triggering for anybody, but it's important so that you guys can know how exact my premonition was. Um, in the dream, he didn't have a head, and but it was so weird because he didn't have legs or arms either. It was just I knew it was him, and it was a shirt, and it had blood all over it. And um, I was kind of tossing and turning, and of course, I immediately woke up from that dream, and I heard people talking in the living room, and it was my aunt, one of my aunties, not the same aunt, but it was another one of my aunties on my father's side of the family. And of course, she was very upset. She was crying, and they were, talking about and discussing the fact that my cousin had been shot and killed. And of course, at the time, I didn't say anything, because I kind of just automatically knew, especially with my father's side of the family, that they would like be freaked out by that. Like, so I didn't say anything. I just kind of was like, oh my God, because that was one of my favorite cousins. And like, was just very overprotective of me. Okay. And so it was very upsetting. I already knew when I woke up from the dream. And my cousin actually had gotten shot in the head and the chest. So It was pretty accurate what I had dreamt about, which was, for some reason in the dream, the way I remember it now, and I think I remembered it then, was that he didn't have arms or legs either. So, anyway, um, skipping forward to when I discovered, like, for sure that I was an empath. And when you come into and discover you're an empath, okay, so that is a trip. First of all, some of the things that I experienced, I have a lot of stories. I have a lot that I could talk about as far as like it can be really difficult. You have these experiences that are scary, to be honest with you, very scary, because there would be times where I would automatically astral project. Like I would just randomly leave my body. And so I think that that is the worst part of it. It's just automatically just leaving your body without even trying. And it would make me feel really, really far away. I experienced this one experience that was so crazy. And sometimes I wish I could experience that now because it would be great for astral travel, but literally it just felt like I wasn't in the room. It felt like I was far away from everybody. Even though I was sitting there with my family, it just felt like I was just gone. And so after a couple of minutes, I was able to return to my body somehow. Probably, I would say that a guardian angel did it because that was weird. Because I was sitting there and I was like, why do I feel like I'm so far away? Why do I feel like I'm not here? It was really weird. And I've only had that experience once. Of course, I had a lot of sleep paralysis. Was a big sign for me as a child. Like, literally, I would have sleep paralysis at least 4 to 5 times per week. It was so crazy to the point where I just kind of got used to it. And I would learn how to will myself all the way awake, you know. So I was obviously traveling somewhere while I was asleep, and that sleep paralysis thing is out of this world. Like I'm glad I don't experience that anymore. I haven't experienced sleep paralysis in years, and I don't want to. Okay, but let me get to the empath story. When I discovered I was an empath, um, I was actually visiting my uncle's girlfriend, and she was another Cancer. So me and her were already kind of in tune with each other a little bit. But me and her went outside, and I think we ran up to the store. We went to go get some chicken or something we went to go do. And I was sitting there in the car when we got in the car. I was sitting in the car, and all of a sudden, I can't really remember if it was the right or the left ear. All of a sudden, I felt this funny feeling in one of my ears, though. It was either the right or let's just say, for purposes of the story, it was the right ear. Okay. All of a sudden, it just felt like something was tapping inside of my ear. And then it just kind of got worse and worse. And it just kind of just started hurting. You know what I'm saying? Like it was just like full fledged, oh my God, what is going on? And something told me to ask her, is your ear hurting? And she was like, yeah, actually it is. How did you know that? And I said, because I can feel it. And she was like, yeah, we're actually, that was one of the stops that she was gonna make, was to go and pick up medicine for her ear. And I said, which ear is it? And back during it when it happened, like it was the same exact ear. Okay. And so for purposes of the story, she was like my right ear. I was like, wow. And so again, I didn't say nothing. It was just kind of like one of those moments because most of the people that know me, like personally, they've experienced my empathism. Okay. They've experienced it. Um, because, weird moments like that would happen. And so, they probably did or didn't understand it. I'm not sure, but, it just was, that's what it was. So that was the turning point right there. It was the turning point. And then one day I was literally like, it was like that. And then like a week later, I was visiting my mother. Everybody was over there visiting. And my uncle and his wife were over there. Me and her were really close too back then. I think we still are, but I haven't talked to her in a while. But I am a mind reader. Just to let y'all know I can read people's minds. And she's one too. So we were like sitting there and I was thinking something and she literally answered out loud, audibly what I was thinking. And so that just set me off, you know what I'm saying? And I went down to a store that's been there forever in Kansas City, Missouri, called Aquarius Books. And that was when I started buying supplies. I started buying books. I think I first started buying books like about psychic gifts and stuff. And then I, got some incense and stuff because, I looked it up. Back then we had America Online. That's how long ago this was. And so yeah, we were still using a dial-up connection back then. So I went to um and I didn't went to I got crystals, a few crystals, a few candles just for protection. And that's when it first started when I was probably in my early 20s. And I took to the craft really easily. It's just something intuitively told me that in order to protect myself as an empath, that I needed to um practice the craft. It just was something that was innate and I just kind of knew it. Now when I started getting into other spells, which is why I always tell people to be careful with that, you know what I'm saying? When I started getting into other spells and stuff, I didn't know what I was doing. This was like over 20 years ago, and I stopped practicing. But then I got back into it. I did not discover my healing powers until I was in my early 30s. And that is when I went back to the craft and haven't left since. And there's many, many, many stories about my healing when I discovered it. And I'm just trying to think of one of them because there's many, you know. Um, I'm trying to think of a good one that's interesting. Oh my God, it's so many that I don't even remember. I'm gonna, you know what? Just for the purposes of this, I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna talk about my self healing. Okay, I'm gonna talk about the self healing. I think that that would be a safe place to go with it. Okay, but I do remember and have a very vivid memory of feeling very empathic towards people that were sick and wishing that they would get better, and then they would get better really quickly. So, so, but as far as self healing myself, I never forget. First of all, guys, I went through horrific anxiety. So that can often be a sign. Thank you, honey. That can often be a sign, anxiety. But of course, it's not always anxiety. You know, some people just suffer from anxiety. But that was actually one of my signs of being a healer, was having anxiety. That eventually did turn into agoraphobia, which was tied into my empathic powers or skills or whatever you want to call it. I'll call it a power. Okay. And for some reason, I just could not be out just like in the world. Like I would look up at the sky and it would just make me feel like I was going to pass out, get dizzy and pass out. Like it was really scary. It was really crazy. And so I can't really explain and articulate how I healed that anxiety. Um, I know that it was after a near death experience that I had. Okay, this was in my 20s. Um, and that near death experience is literally, I had to self heal, and I didn't go to the doctor or anything. I actually went out to the club. This club that we would go to, they had quarter shots, and so back then I would drink, sometimes to, keep out the ghosts and stuff. I would drink. And I had about, I mean, I must have had about 50 of those shots, y'all. And I know I did, I know I did because, when we went up there, I said, I'm going to have 50 shots. And I literally drank 50 shots of tequila. I should be dead, but I didn't die. In fact, not only did I not die, but I ended up pregnant with my firstborn child, within months after that. And so I it just it brought me to the realization that, and it was crazy because I don't even remember. I think my cousin drove us home. Anywho, I never forget, one thing that I can't stand is the feeling of passing out, which is why I don't drink a lot. Like I know how to regulate it. If I do drink something, I'm not going to drink too much. I felt like I was going to pass out. So anywho, um, I go home from the club and I'm literally just inebriated. I couldn't do nothing but go up to my bedroom, staying with my mother at the time. I couldn't do nothing but go up to my bedroom and just fall out on the bed. And I could not move. And when I tell you that I could not move, but I was wide awake, it felt like awake paralysis. I felt paralyzed. I literally felt paralyzed. So I'm laying there and I'm willing myself to not fall asleep. I couldn't ingest any water. I couldn't do anything. Okay. Nothing. I could do nothing but lay there until I finally did pass out. And coincidentally, I passed out on my back because I didn't, I felt like if I laid on my stomach, I would throw up and I didn't want to throw up. So I laid on my back until I passed out. I don't know when, sometime in the wee hours of the morning, it had to have been during the witch's hour because I passed out. Something was there and it wasn't my mother. My mother was asleep. Something was there with me. I was not alone. By the way, I've never divinated what that was there. I've never divinated it, which is weird. Maybe I need to find out. But something got me up. I literally felt, and this is how I know that spirits exist also, as well as deities, as well as God. Okay, seriously. Because something lifted me up out of that bed. Something made sure that I did not choke on my own vomit. Lifted me, literally helped me into the bathroom. I thought it was my mother at first. I literally thought it was my mother at first. It was not my mother. It was not. I didn't see it. It was something I couldn't see it, but I felt it. And it lifted me up out of the bed, whatever it was. Literally helped me walk to the bathroom. And that's where I just threw up. Right. It just, I mean, it was awful. It was horrible. And so after I was done throwing up my guts, right? I walked past because my mother's bedroom was like right next to mine. I walked past her bedroom and she was still in there asleep. I said, "What was that got me up?" And I didn't have time. Like literally, I went right back. I felt better, of course, because I got all that garbage out of my system. And so I was able to go and sleep peacefully. But the next morning, I didn't have a hangover. I was half dead. I was literally near death, near death. My mother, the family came over because back then we was always having get-togethers. So I had gotten up out of the bed earlier that day and went and laid on the couch. And, of course, my mother took care of me. She was like, "Well, you want me to make you something to eat or whatever?" And, so, and I couldn't eat at that point. I couldn't eat. And all I could do was lay there. And she asked me, she said, "Do you need to go to the hospital?" And immediately something inside of me said, "No, I don't need to go to the hospital. I just need to drink like maybe some juice or something. I just need to put something on my stomach." And so I was able to eat like rice and bread. So she made me some rice and bread. And so I'm still laying there. I could not move. I literally was stuck on that couch. And so I'm laying there and all of a sudden, I just start feeling these tingles throughout my body. And I started feeling better and better, just as the minutes went by, because I just was thinking, I want to feel better. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to feel better. Now, keep in mind, I had already been going through the anxiety, right? And the agoraphobia. So obviously, I got over the anxiety and the agoraphobia after that. Well, no, 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 no. I said it. No, that was wrong. I actually had already gotten over the anxiety and agoraphobia, and how I did that was just by not fearing an anxiety attack is how I did it, and then it went away. But that day, I just started thinking, I want to feel better. I want to feel better. I want to feel better. And I just closed my eyes and I just envisioned myself feeling better. And slowly but surely, I felt better. And so by that time, my aunts and all them came over to visit or whatever. And they were just like, are you okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, girl, don't you do that no more, you know? And when I'm serious, I drank 50 shots of tequila. I actually challenged myself. I don't know what I was doing. I don't know why I did that. It was weird. I have no idea. But so I was able to sit up finally and I just started to feel my body. I started to be able to feel my body, like, because like I said, I felt paralyzed. Like I was like, I can't move. I'm sorry, you know. And so they came back over the next day, right? Because that's how my family would get together. Like they come over and stay till about 12 or 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, go home, come back the next day. What we gonna cook tonight? What we gonna eat tonight? You know what I'm saying? That's how my family is, you know. And so the next day when they came back, I was completely healed. Like somewhere between 7 p.m. and about midnight, I literally felt like it had never happened. I lit like something like that is something that literally would put somebody down for days because it was bad. It was bad. And I knew I was in a bad way. And my mother wanted to take me to the hospital. And so somewhere, you know, I just was laying there watching TV. Of course, you know, that was crazy. That was when everybody had cable too, and before the smart TVs and stuff. So it was literally by that night I was literally feeling better, and so that next day for some reason I just wanted to get exercise, and so I just kind of stood there and did exercises in my regular exercise space. And my auntie was looking at me and she was just like, how, girl, you was just half dead. And so that was my first self-healing experience. And so like when I discovered the existence of psychic attacks, this was before I came on YouTube or in the spiritual community or any of this mess, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, um I experienced a psychic attack and I knew I had been psychically attacked. And because it just literally, like, I was just like, I could see eyes and hands. And it was just so weird, you know? And it was an attack. Typically, psychic attacks are sent to the head, but they can be sent to anywhere in the body. And so for me, with that one, it was literally aimed at my head. And so I had the psychic attack. I was actually able to put up a psychic defense, uh, you know, really easily. Okay, and but I was really messed up afterwards. Oh my God, my head was hurting, my neck was hurting. It was pretty bad. And so again, you know, I wasn't using any candles or anything back then. I just kind of closed my eyes and just envisioned myself feeling better, and slowly but surely, you know, probably took me a good maybe an hour or so. And I felt completely better, just back to normal 100%. Um, Trying to think if it's any other things that I can remember. Spirit contact. I had like that. Well, that was one of them. The near death experience when that entity carried me to the bathroom. Shortly, like I would say maybe. Oh, I had to say that my firstborn was had to have been still in elementary school, and she's about, and I had two kids by then. Um, no, I had three because they were stair steps. That was when I discovered that there was some kind of entity that was like literally messing with me in my sleep. And so, I actually have experienced astral grape, and I experienced it for years. Um, and I'm not going to really get into that because I don't like talking about that. But there were several experiences that I had that frightened me a whole lot. But then when I thought about them, there was some kind of healing entity that would pull me into somewhere. It was really weird. And I know who that entity is now. Okay. Now that I'm 40 something. But I didn't know what was going on back then. Any presence of anything, I like my dreams to be kind of abstract unless I'm dreaming about somebody that I know, and then I don't like for it to be scary. But I prefer the abstract dreams. I don't like sensing stuff in my dreams, and so it kind of freaked me out. But then I realized that it was something that I needed to heal from. And something pulled me into somewhere, some kind of outer realm, and healed me of some stuff that I've been dealing with. And then another real spirit contact that I had was when I had contact with the Fae. After I had moved to Lawrence, Kansas. I'm pretty sure that there's a lot more, but the Fae, which was a fairy, they showed up to me a lot when I lived in Lawrence. They showed up to me a lot. Either they would show up as these misty orbs on the grass, and it was so weird because I had like nobody had ever seen that before. Like, what was that? It was so weird, and I didn't figure out that it was the Fae until I actually saw a fairy, and I'm so mad at myself because I caught a fairy on camera, which I believe that the Fae forced me to delete it. I think that they made me delete it because I was actually doing a spiritual video for YouTube. By that time, when I was in Kansas, I was making spiritual videos on, I think it was on Facebook. I'm sitting there doing this video, and a little tiny fairy angel just flew by and you could literally see it. It was not dust. It was not dust. Because somebody said, oh, that's just dust. Dust is going to fall. This fairy was literally flying sideways. It was a fairy. You could see its wings. It was large enough to where it was undeniably a fairy. It was undeniable, like you couldn't deny it. And for some reason, I deleted it. I don't know why I did that. And the last miraculous experience that I can think of to tell was after I moved to Georgia. and we were living in Decatur. This was probably around, I want to say October. I know it had to have been about October-ish, maybe September. And so I go outside on the balcony, and I'm seeing fireflies covering the trees. Like, I'm like, ain't these supposed to be like flying around? No, they were in the trees. And so I was like, oh my God, I was like, that's so miraculous. I've never seen anything like that before in my life. And come to find out, because I was thinking to myself, and a lot of times when I have these experiences, like when I had that experience, it was not something that that only I could see, right? Because I called my son down and I was like, "Do you see those fireflies?" He was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Cause he had never seen nothing like it before either." And so I had began asking around, and I was like, "I noticed that y'all fireflies like to be in the trees like Christmas lights." And people was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, like every night when I go step out on my balcony, I can see fireflies lighting up the trees like Christmas lights." And they were like, "No, that's not a Georgia thing." They were like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah." And trust me, for years I asked around about that. And no, nobody in Georgia, nobody. Okay. They like, we ain't never, and I've been living in Georgia my whole life, is what a couple of people told me. I ain't never seen nothing like that. So I think that it was definitely some kind of spirit communication from the Fae. Okay. So, anyway, that's pretty much it. That's all that I wanted to talk about. You know what I mean? But I hope that you guys enjoyed my little get to know me. There's many, many, many more stories that I can tell. It's many, many more, but I'm not going to take up too much of y'all's time because I've been here almost an hour. Um, all I can say is that if you're having spiritual experiences, it ain't always a curse. It's not always somebody attacking you. Sometimes it's just your gifts developing, which can be really hard and they can be really difficult. So I'm always here to lend an ear to you guys if you guys need advice on that, because it's something that I've been dealing with my whole life. Okay. So I'm definitely here to be a guide for you guys that are having those experiences and you don't know how to take it, like you don't know how to control it maybe, or it may be scaring the heck out of you. Okay. And then also I can give you guys tips on balancing it. Okay. Because I'm gonna tell y'all something. Was that back when Obama was president? Like there was Bill Clinton and then Obama, and I can't think of anybody after. There was Bush. Anyway, the world was actually pretty decent back then. Like it wasn't a lot of the stuff that's been going on the past 10 years. And it was rough and difficult on me back then. And those were good times. Like oh my God, such good times. Like I miss that time, right? And these days is very different. A lot going on in the world. So I couldn't imagine coming into those gifts now. Like this was, I'm talking about 15, 20, 30 years ago, going up to 30, 40 years ago. I can't imagine being even a child now. like a child that's born with gifts, dealing with that and the world. So, so I'm always here to help. Okay. And one of the things that I specialize in, that spirit wants me to put out there, is that if you have a gifted child, that I can assist you with that. Okay. Especially if your child is a medium or an empath. Okay. So anyway, I'm available for readings. It'll be tomorrow. Like I said, I'm booked for today, but it'll be tomorrow. So I look forward to hearing from you guys. There's nothing crazy that you can tell me. You never have to be embarrassed with me. And I want to put my energy out there as being very non-judgmental when it comes to that, because I am very non-judgmental when it comes to you guys and your spiritual experiences and what you're experiencing. Like, because if nobody else in this world believes you, I'm definitely gonna believe you. Because I done been through some pretty outlandish stuff. And then especially if you're manifesting several spiritual gifts at once, you really want to make sure that you get a good bead on that. Okay. So I'm here if you guys need me. I enjoy doing those types of readings. I mean, I like doing the love readings, money readings, but the spiritual readings, I really, really want to get more into, because I've been really, like, since I started working with Santa Muerta, uh, which I kind of suspected that was Santa Muerta that saved me during the whole near death experience of being drunk as hell, just literally almost dying. Um, I don't know though. I'd have to ask her, but um, yeah, that's pretty much all that I can say. I was getting ready to go somewhere with it, but I gotta go, you guys. Okay. All right. I'm always here, and I will see you guys later. Okay. All right. Blessings to y'all. Bye bye.